Looks like we are live once again. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, everyone. This is the Manny Wolf Show. And on the Manny Wolf Show today is Dr. Cynthia Stone. I have been given explicit permission to make bad puns about Dr. Jones and of Raiders of the Lost Ark, of course, Indiana Jones. If you give me just a second, I have to do this little sharing out business, and then I'm all yours.
All right.
All right, here we go. So we'll do a little watch party. Then we'll share to a group. Then we'll share on my page. All right, and now let the sharing commence. So, hello, good morning. How are you?
Living the dream. It's afternoon here.
So, where is here?
Toronto, Canada.
What's the weather like out there today, right now, this afternoon?
Yeah, it's not too shabby. I think we are dealing with, we got some sun, which is always nice. It's a high of 4 Celsius, which would make it, let's see.
Like 18 Fahrenheit or something?
Yeah, that. Yeah, that's about right. Truly
living the dream. Truly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There are penguins that just envy you. Tell me a little bit about what you do.
Absolutely, I will. All right. So I am an eye doctor. I focus on the self. And really what I recognize in doing all of this work with various people across the globe is that we all deal with the same stuff, and it's BS, belief systems or bullshit. And often we are actually prevented from being able to reach our potential because we have this inner critic, this bully that prevents us from being able to reach our ultimate potential. And so I help people combat those beliefs in 3 easy steps, as easy as A, B, C.
Wow, because I literally, and I'm not just saying this, I was journaling about this morning. I was journaling about this exact thing and how I think that there's not cognitive dissonance, but there's a gap between the way I perceive the world seeing me and my progress and my success and how I feel inside. And I'm not this is not my first rodeo. You know what I mean? I'm not a dilettante to this stuff. And yet, taking time to reflect and to really look at what is your thought process saying to you and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, it's still kind of in there. I'm a veteran of cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm a veteran of all kinds of personal improvement stuff, and yet it persists. So, what do you do that's so different? Why are you so good?
Great question. I mean, I think that it really comes down to recognizing that as different as we are, we're all the same. And what happens is a lot of times in our own life, we form beliefs as a child that will shape our reality. And I realized that by healing myself, I was actually healing others. And that's kind of where my journey began. It began within. Really, if you want to change the world, you have to change yourself first. And so I recognized that in my life, I had constantly been bullied. I was attracting the wrong people into my life. And I was like, well, why do I keep attracting these terrible people? And I realized that you'll never put up with as much abuse from someone else as you give yourself. And so what I realize is that I have to change my inner tape, and as much as I worked with, people from all over the planet, I think we all suffer from mental health. Like, we often kind of say to people, oh yeah, they have mental health issues. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. Oh, well, that's for them. But really, if you were to write down everything your mind came up with in the span of 10 minutes, you would be like, what the heck am I doing? It jumps from one thing to the next. It doesn't follow a logical process. It's just all over the place. And that's what happens? Like, you'll be like, okay, well, you know, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this. And I'm rah, 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 like cognitive behavioral therapy, whatever you happen to study. And it doesn't matter who you are, or where you come from, or how much you've tried to, you know, suppress it. What you resist persists, and it's always going to be there. And it's just about recognizing when it's coming up and how you can actually overcome it. And so what I do with people is I help them to recognize the signs that there's that false self and then there's your real self. Like, your ego is not your amigo necessarily, and you'll be able to really overcome it.
So at this point, and I say this with all due professional respect and love for another human, at this point, we're still on the surface a little bit.
Absolutely.
Right. So what you did say that I found interesting and want to sort of pull out is recognizing the signs, because that was a big sort of breakthrough for me. Right. Many of us, I think, even at levels of success and sort of self-actualization, I think that there's a blind spot maybe to even recognizing that there's this sort of dialogue happening, right? This sort of critical inner voice, the critic, the imposter syndrome, whatever you want to call it. I grew up calling it the inner dialogue, which I think is a little more of a classical term. But maybe the biggest piece was finding out, like being able to even recognize it in the first place. So how do we start that? Let's say we have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. That's totally fair.
We just know that we're not fulfilled.
Exactly. Do you ever find that you're going forward and you have your mindset, you're like, I'm going to go for this, you know, I'm all about this goal, and then you end up talking yourself out of it? That you end up having this almost like I consider it like a mom, you know, like an overprotective mother who's like, oh, you better watch out for this, you know, that's dangerous. You don't want to do that, you know? And so rather than a mother, I think I have a smother, because like she's super hyper ultra mega overprotective. And I recognize that. I'm like, well, you know, there's something here, like before we even have an idea of what we want to do, there is something that can prevent us. So for example, like when you look at the rain outside, it's starting to rain, for example, right? So for some people, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, you know, that sucks. You know, now I can't have my outdoor wedding. And then for other people, they'll be like celebrating because they're like, oh, I finally have rain. I'm a farmer and this is going to be amazing. So the rain is the rain, and you're going to form your opinion on the rain based on your own belief systems, based on whatever's happening. And so it's really about recognizing what is your paradigm, like what is shaping your belief system. What is it? How is it that two people who grow up in the exact same kind of environments can form two separate meanings? You know, Viktor Frankl talked about it in his book, you know, The Meaning of Life, where he was really looking at you know, twins that had actually, you know, both come through a similar circumstance and were in the Holocaust, you know, and were both coming up with different reasons as to their why. And so once you have a why that will make you cry, I say, then you can actually live a life of passion and bypass the BS that can prevent you. And like in the most extreme of circumstances, in the Holocaust, for example, it's like, you know, that there's that part of you that will overcome adversity no matter how bad it gets, that you just have to do it. And this is the part of you, this is the I, this is the actual force within that you can channel to be able to overcome anything. So no matter how strong that critic is, you're going to be like, I don't care. You know, screw it. I'm just going to plow ahead anyways, no matter what.
So it sounds like you're talking about an approach that, if I understand this correctly, more just acts in spite of.
Yes.
Okay. This is interesting. So most of the time when I talk to people about mindset, and mindset always has the inner dialogue component in it, right? It's always got the inner critic piece. When I talk to people about mindset, we look at how to sort of recognize the narrative that's going on, how to sort of maybe, I think CBT was really great for that, by the way.
Yeah.
But are you saying then that you can sort of ignore the chatter and find something motivating enough, and that's a way around the process of sort of picking apart the psychology of the dialogue?
Absolutely. Because
Okay,
that's
interesting.
exactly it. Because what happens is often we can get trapped, like the mind is the problem. So when you're trapped in the mind and you're trying to understand the mind and grapple with the mind, you end up in analysis paralysis. Like
Sure.
it can often just like prevent you from taking action. So what I'm all about is getting out of your head and into your heart. And your heart is where that passion is, that je ne sais quoi, that joie de vivre, that part of you that just wants to jump in and do it anyways. Like there are times in our life where we're like, it's fight or flight, you know, where you're just going to be like, I am going to pull out my inner warrior and just fight through this. It doesn't matter because I have to. There's something in me that is larger than myself. There's a force bigger than me. And that's really what the me is about, motivation and empowerment.
So do you think this is what Viktor Frankl did? Or do you think this is very interesting to me? I am a student of Frankl, as I can tell that you are.
Frankenstein. Yes.
Frankenstein. It's pronounced Frankenstein. Class dismissed.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a very, very specific reference there. Because the thing that I took away from Man's Search for Meaning was this process of becoming aware of your own thoughts, becoming and realizing slowly over time that there was a liberty there that couldn't be stripped, right?
Yeah.
There was a freedom. Well, you know exactly what he says, the freedom to choose between stimulus and response. But it sounds like you're suggesting another path entirely.
Well, I think it is choice. It does come down to choice. And it's either choose to be exactly where you are right now and listen to the voice and see what, like, you know, I went through my life and I was like, oh my gosh, you know, like I'm here at this stage in my life. I have nothing to show for it. You know, I had a failed marriage at that point. I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, like what I suck, you know, but if the world didn't suck, we'd all fall off. But it's like, if you like continue down this path, like you're going to end up like in the road to nowhere. So it comes down to a choice. Like, am I going to continue to stay on this path to nowhere, or am I going to try a new path and forge a new direction? And I think that a lot of us, you know, we end up at these crossroads where it's like, you know, I have to make a choice now. I can either die with everybody else in this, you know, situation, or I can fight for survival and I can fight for something better, and I can honor that part of me, because we all have that spark within us that says, you know, there's more to life than this. Like I don't want to live a life of meaninglessness. Like there has to be more. You know, there's a reason that I'm here. There's a, you know, and it's about living a life of purpose on purpose. And so I really help people uncover their passion, the part of them that just desires for something more. And then when you have that locked down and you know that you're going to proceed no matter what, in spite of, then it doesn't matter what comes up, because you are going to face critics. You're going to face the external critics and most importantly, the internal critic. And you're going to be able to find the strength, the resources to rise above it.
So, and we'll move on. I really want to get clarity on this part.
Yeah.
It sounds like maybe that, you know, it sounds a little cheeky, so forgive me. Frankl maybe being the first guy across that bridge took the long way, and now that this is a bit of a sort of adapt and improve on that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
it's
cool.
I did choice.
So first of all, you have more pithy wisdom than a bag of fortune cookies. Let me just say that.
Right.
That's right. You can take that to the bank.
Nice.
That's yours for free as a guest of the show.
I won't cost all right. Awesome.
But so now let's, in a world that if I was a conspiracy theorist, I would swear was designed to keep us in first or second gear.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Yep.
How then do you take someone to a point of a passion that burns at the level of arguably survival?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that?
Well, I mean, I think that you can't impose that on somebody, that there is something in them that is going to spark. So for someone, I worked in the homeless shelter system for over a decade, and I tried. I mean, I was burning at both ends, really, but you can't want it more than they want it. At the end of the day, it comes down to if they want it, if you truly, have that hunger.
Yeah.
You gotta be hungry, If you have that hunger, then you will find food, But not everybody has it, and I realize that like it's about accepting, that there are those of us that are going to continue on exactly as we've gone on in that zombie state.
Right.
But there are other people that are waking up, that are like recognizing that there's something more. And it's the people that suffer the most that I think really have it, because they're recognizing that there's something bigger than themselves, and that suffering is self-inflicted. It's them not honoring that truth inside of them. And it's about helping them to really cultivate that inner peace that is within all of us. It's that stillness, that part of us, that witness to what happens before the thought comes. When you're meditating, or, for those of you that don't meditate, like I don't really believe in the conventional meditation, like sit in lotus position and breathe like so. But when you have that time to yourself, when you're in that alone phase, and, you have that voice inside of you, there really is something to be said for that. And the more you honor that voice, the louder it will get. At one point, mine started yelling at me. So, it's just really about, acknowledging that. But some of us are not going to be answering that, and are drifting aimlessly, lost like a fart in the wind, on a slow form of suicide.
Which starts off lost, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Those they're lost as soon as they're created.
Yeah.
Exactly. They never stood a chance. So, I think you're right. I think that this ain't for everybody.
No.
Right? There has to be a certain either created or pre-existing predisposition. Right. And I think I also agree with you from personal experience that it seems to be primarily the people who really went through the ringer, and it's interesting to me with the advent of social media to reflect more of the world back to me, to see, because I thought that I was just a freak for not giving up, I was, well, let's put it this way. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth and all that stuff. And that would be weird anyway. I mean, can you imagine? But
how do I get this thing out of here?
Where did that spoon come from? But yeah, so I remember talking to my mother one time, and she just looked at me and she said, I don't know where you get the strength. She's like, you certainly don't get it from me. And I just sort of thought about it, and I said, if it's within my power, other people won't have to sort of be as lost and confused and frustrated and trapped feeling and go through all the stuff I went through. If there's anything I can do about it. But prior to having a sort of global audience, I really thought that was some sort of freak of nature thing that was just sort of inside of me. But now I can see that there's probably, broadly speaking, about 10% of people who are sort of forced through the meat grinder, come out wanting to help others.
Yes.
So for your business, you must have a good screening model, right? I mean, because you can't take people. There's also that sort of distribution of the bell curve of people who just want to plunk money down to feel good, but then won't do anything. God, those guys kill me.
Oh, I know, right? So I'm like, oh, you're another self-help junkie.
Shelf help. I like it.
Yeah.
But still in all, I am in the camp of people who would be considered successful, motivated to change. I have, the desire to help others, all of those things. I know the secret handshake. I tick the boxes. And yet I'm honestly not sure what my passion is. No kidding. I say that this with complete sincerity. I know that I have some abstractions around it. I want to serve other people. I'm not really clear what that means yet. I want to make a ton of money doing it. I'm very clear on that, but that also is a reflection of my childhood. In sort of a selected poverty, grew up in a poverty that I found out later we didn't have to be in. Like, it was really, really crazy. So, I want to make a ton of money. I want to do it through service. I was just journaling yesterday about how my real sort of power is a very transitory and intangible thing. It's like when people put their faith in me, their trust in me, and count on me to come up with solutions, something comes through me that otherwise doesn't. How do you quantify that? Does that count as my passion?
Absolutely. I would say for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So
I think that, deep down, we all want the same things. We all want to love and be loved. And
sure, at that level. Yeah.
And then it's about a life of service. And the more you serve others, the more obviously everything will grow. Your passion, your fulfillment, your bank account. I mean, it's all going to grow. Everything is energy, right? So, and it's really about, I don't think you have to be specific in the sense that I'm going to help them with it. I mean, that's great. It's great to have specificity. I mean, if you're an eye doctor, like the other kind of eye, obviously, that's what you're focused on, and that's great. What you focus on expands. But I think just recognizing that you are here to serve, and that you can turn your story into your glory, that your pain can become your motivation.
And for sure that was going to rhyme with
it's like, like you have had this traumatic childhood, and you could have let that defeat you, but there was something inside of you that said, no, the name's Tucker, not Sucker. I'm not going to stand for that. And if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And you're really rising above and being an inspiration to people, showing them that, you don't have to take this lying down, that you can rise up and look at me. I'm Manny Wolf, and I've done this, and I can help you do the same. And it's not necessarily saying that there's a one size fits all approach. And there's not necessarily one type of client that you're going to help. It's just about recognizing that you've tapped it, you've unlocked, you've hacked the process, so to speak, and it's just about serving as an inspiration and helping people to reach that height with you.
So if I'm being 100% honest, there's a part of me that gets what you're saying and says, yeah, that's spot on. And then there's a part of me that says it doesn't quite help that feeling of ambiguity that comes in from time to time. That feeling of sort of like, are all the tires even on the road right now? You know what I mean? Are all the wheels touching the road here? So I guess I want to know, based on that, sort of trying to extrapolate my own experience into your specialty. Do you see what I'm experiencing with your clients? And if so, what is walking them through those moments of sort of guessing and second guessing and self-doubt and lack of clarity look like?
It's it's a very good question. And it is something that I deal with on a consistent basis with people, and even myself. And it's recognizing that certainty is what we strive for, but certainty doesn't exist. There is no certainty in life. That, at this very stage in time, that's why people are freaking out more than ever. Like, oh my gosh, this pandemic, panic. There is no certainty. We don't know what is going to happen. And that's the nature of life. And it's about just acknowledging that, I accept what is, and I accept what isn't. And it's just trusting yourself. It's that element of trust, where you just take that deep breath and be like, you know what, I've taken me through it this far and I can continue on. And it's just having that faith, that the same trust and faith and belief that people place in you, Manny, is what you need to start cultivating in yourself. And I show people how to do that. And it's like a step-by-step process. It's something that's not going to happen overnight, but it is something that you can constantly recognize when it is happening, when you're falling out of that, and taking the steps needed to be able to get back into that, that heart space, not the mindset, but the heart space, because the mind is full of nonsense. It's just really about honoring that heart,
It's a field of poppies.
Absolutely.
So,
blooming idiot.
Yeah. Before I met you, I thought that only David Lee Roth, of course, David Lee Roth.
Yeah, of course.
And do you know who Donald Fagen is?
Yeah.
They were the only two people I heard mix and match metaphors, and I say this playfully and even lovingly, even cliches, and pull actual wisdom out of them. You're in that camp.
That's awesome.
Only with those two, so you're in good company. You every time I think that you're gonna just steer the tractor right off into the field, you pull it back and you say something profound. And I say all this as a signal of my appreciation, because you have a quippy, witty, pithy little thing for everything. And I go, oh, this is it. We're going to the shallow end of the pool, and every single time you nail it. So well done, well done. That is no small task. No. So you said it's as simple as ABC, right?
Yeah.
What's A?
A is acknowledgement, awareness.
I knew it was going to be alliterative. I knew it. Okay, so acknowledgement and awareness.
Yeah. It's like, oh, there it is again. There's mom.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So often, right?
You're a witness to it. Okay, here we go. Thanks, mom. Thanks for sharing.
Mother, do you think they'll drop the bomb?
Yeah.
So how then do we acknowledge it? How do we become aware that we are sort of victimized by our humors like that?
Oh,
that's
somebody's got something to say. Yeah,
it's my producer.
All right on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So the way to be aware of it, obviously, is recognizing that, when we are in our flow, when we're in the state of, in our power, we feel really good. And when we start being taken out of that and start feeling down on ourselves, I mean, it's as easy as that. It's that suffering, that pain that's inflicted on us. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's happening again. I'm not in the flow. I'm not in my forced state. I'm not in that powerful state. What's happening? Oh, okay. Mom's at it again.
Right.
And for all you people with great moms out there, this is not a condemnation of moms.
For all you people with great moms for all you people with great moms out there, go fuck yourself. No, I'm kidding. Of course, I'm kidding.
Terrible.
Yeah. This is not a PC show.
No, definitely not. I mean, I always said if I wanted to hear from an ass, I'd fart,
Right,
so.
Exactly.
Yeah, there
exactly.
You go.
So then B, A is awareness and acknowledgement. What is B?
B is belief. It's your beliefs. Yeah, exactly.
Tell us more.
So it's recognizing that your paradigm is going to shape your reality. And that's often what happens in life. You have, made a decision. You've chosen a certain set of beliefs. Yeah. So for example, like a lot of times it will pop up in my mind, I'm not worthy. Well, where did this come from? And this is actually something that stemmed from my childhood when I had overly critical parents and I was never good enough. And so I took that on to believe that I'm not good enough. Right. And that is something that, as you change your paradigm, shift happens.
You. Okay.
It's coming. I can
All right. Yeah. It was only a matter of time.
Yeah.
And then what is C?
And so the C is where you are the creator. You're the creator of a new reality. It's conceiving a new you. It's just
Okay.
really about, birthing that process and so you are the creator of your own life, and you can redefine your story. You can create a new story where you are the hero of your own story, and I help people draft a new book.
So with the A section, acknowledgement and awareness, we can sort of check in with our body, can't we? Because there's always a correlation. Like in flow state, you feel light, your movements feel perfect. This stuff is really, maybe we can really serve some people here with what to look for.
Yeah.
The first thing I think is to sort of, you need that meta thinking, that thinking about your thinking.
Yep.
And I make the assumption that most of us have that, but then that always bites me when I talk to people, right? It comes back and
terrible. You stop.
Yeah. I feel like somewhere Groucho Marx is just feeling proud from his grave. He's like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well done again. I am a I'm a warm audience for puns. So anyway, this is something that, having raised a couple of children, this part just baffled me and killed me. Like there's a period there, and it may be more akin to Maslow's hierarchy rather than age, but there's a period there where to tell someone that they actually have control over their thoughts and can change their thoughts is like giving a fish a bicycle, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And fish can't flip you off because they only have fins, but they're thinking it. They're thinking it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And then so sometimes I'll get in coaching calls with, grownups. Like, you can actually think about your thinking. I mean, again, it's the fin, because some people just don't want to hear that. But you can. And another thing that seems fortunately hardwired into the physical experience of a human is that our bodies do correlate with our state, right? So you can check your state. How do you feel? How does even checking your thought process, like the kinds of thoughts I have in flow are sort of like pulling a long silk ribbon, it just goes.
Yeah.
And the kinds of thoughts I have when not in flow is like, you got any analogies for this one? You want to jump in here, Dr. Stone?
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. Well, I often say it's like, you're having all these, and like, some people have a family tree, but I have a family cactus full of mix, this is where they're all like jumping in and, like giving you a little bit of, like when you're in the flow state, you can even do that sway test thing, where you're just or like the muscle test and all this stuff, because you're gonna feel like either pulled down or like you're unstoppable. Yeah.
And then when you're not, my own thought process can devolve to the point where it's like crawling on all fours over jumping jacks.
Yes.
So there's a real way to tell. Another thing that I find every time I tell somebody this, they can sort of connect to it is like, there's a you can't see what I'm doing here, but this is my solar plexus area.
Oh, okay. Yes.
It like gets tight and adrenalized, and that's a surefire sign that maybe you're not rocking out. So, now before we jumped on this interview, you billed yourself as a relationship doctor.
That's right.
And do you mean a relationship with yourself, or do you work? Yes. Okay. So there's not
relationship with self. I mean, I literally married myself the other day, and people are like, "Congratulations, you got married!" And then they were like, "Wait a minute,
landed her. Nice going."
I'm like, I'm in my honeymoon phase. It's amazing. Yeah. So it's just, I recognize that it comes down to relationship with self. Like if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, then you're going to be aversion or addiction. You're going to be running to something or running from something. Sure. Why can't you just get along with yourself? People are like, I can't find the right person. And I do help a lot of couples. And I'm like, well, how's time when you're on your own? Oh, I can't stand myself. I'm like, well, you can't stand yourself. What makes you think they're going to be able to stand you for crying out loud?
Yeah.
You know?
No, there's so much to unearth there, so much to
So,
exhume.
I mean, honestly, it's like, I feel like, that inner critic can be like a diaper, full of crap and always on your ass. But you got to be able to, get that diaper changed,
You got to be able to change that diaper.
That's right.
You got to change that diaper, folks. Let's make a hashtag of that. Hold on.
That's right.
Hashtag change that diaper.
And it's like,
what is your best, most optimistic take on any kind of a bigger meaning for this moment in time we find ourselves in?
Well, I think that
Cynthia,
there's that symbol that's is it Japanese or Chinese? But it's where they say, like, in crisis, there's opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's recognizing that this is the time to strike, where the iron's hot, where, like, a lot of times, we can go into fetal position and be like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world as we know it. But we can also pull up our big kid pants and say, you know what, I am going to be the change I want to see in the world. Like, I asked for more time with my family, and now I have it. I've wanted to have, more time to live and not just be a wage slave. And now is the time. It's about seizing the moment and recognizing the gifts therein. Like, not all of us are dealing with, it's like, if you can start spending this time now where you appreciate every moment, every little thing. Like, I find that I was so caught in the groove, and I was always, going from one appointment to the next appointment, to the next appointment, to the next appointment. And now I have time to reflect and be like, I want to have a life that I can be proud of. And now that we're facing our own mortality, it's about recognizing, like, what do I want them to say at my funeral? Like, am I proud of the life I've lived? Do I have a legacy? And this is a time where we can actually reflect on that and start being the change we want to see, and actually spending time. I found that, the community now, there is unity in the community. Like, people are coming together more than ever before, and that it doesn't have to be social distancing. It can be physical distancing, but that doesn't mean you have to subscribe to the whole social thing. Like, thanks to this, crisis, I've been able to connect with people across the world that were usually untouchable, and now they're available on Zoom or whatever we're on right now, StreamYard or
StreamYard,
yeah, exactly. Woo! And I'm getting to know new platforms, and it's like a great opportunity for entrepreneurs. Like, I know people that are now like just skyrocketing in their business. They're like, wow, I've been able to bring on a new development in terms of, like, everything's delivery now. So, like, people are coming up with survival kits, and that's delivery. And, like, it's just a chance for you to broaden your wings and be able to reach new heights. Like, it doesn't have to be a death sentence.
Right.
It can be the start of a new life. And it doesn't mean that just because things aren't the way they used to be, doesn't mean that they're not going to be something that you can work with. Like, maybe we're just learning to crawl again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for all of your pithy wisdom.
My eyes are brown. Yeah, see that?
Yeah, right. It's been wonderful to speak with you. It really has.
Likewise.
Thank you so much. And with that, I will wish you and the world of Facebook adieu. And I'll see you around the water cooler.
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't be a stranger.
All right.
All right.